let's have a look at a question from the 2022 MAT exam. Now, I think immediately here I'm going to let you read this, attempt it, and we'll discuss it once you've given it a go. I love this question, and I think it's a great one to talk about because it really reflects both the style of thinking of the MAT and also the structure of the couple of long questions that will be at the end of the MAT. In both cases, it is, here's some seemingly innocuous information. Do this thing that feels irrelevant for me. And we need to be very clear that they're not tricking us. They've given us this, not for fun, but because it's very important and completely relevant to solving the problem. So I think that we've probably seen this idea before of, hey, n to the 4 plus 4, figure out if that's prime. Or, is n squared plus 3n ever divisible by 8? Things like this. We're probably familiar with doing proofs of that style. Here, this is critical. In figuring out why it's critical, we might actually be tempted to literally show why it's true. And quite nicely here, if we take a second to look at these brackets, this is basically a difference of two squares, isn't it? We've got n squared plus 1 plus root 2n, and we've got n squared plus 1 minus root 2n. So our difference of two squares is going to be n squared plus 1 squared minus root 2n squared. So n to the 4 plus 2n squared plus 1 minus 2n squared. There's our difference of two squares, which luckily is n to the 4 plus 1. Aha! So now we see why this works. Can we apply it to this new case? Because that must be why they've given us the information. So let's try to decompose this and figure out how we got the plus 1. So we got the plus 1 from this thing, this plus 1 here being squared. So perhaps this might suggest to us that we're going to want n squared plus 2 and n squared plus 2, and we're going to square those. Now, of course, if we square that term, then the first difference of two squares term we're going to get will be plus 4n squared plus 4. So rather than getting rid of 2n squared, we're going to want to get rid of 4n squared, which lets us know that this should be plus 2n and minus 2n to give us our minus 4n squared term. Equals n to the 4 plus 4. Fantastic. So we use the information they gave us, or in the long questions, we'll be using the information we derived in a previous part to demonstrate our answer. Fantastic. So now we want to deduce when this is prime. Okay, fantastic. Perhaps we're familiar with this idea as well. We've got two numbers multiplied together to give us n to the 4 plus 4. So when is this prime? Well, if a prime number is two whole numbers larger than 1 times together, that's clearly a contradiction. We need one of these numbers to be 1. Now, the left-hand one is just going to be bigger than the right-hand one, right? Which is plus or minus 2n, and we've got a positive whole number n. So actually this bracket here will need to be equal to 1. So our problem reduces quite simply to n squared plus 2 minus 2n equals 1. And it's the only time the n to the 4 plus 4 will be prime. This is a quadratic. So we might be expecting up to 2 options. And indeed, we get n minus 1 squared equals 0. So happily, n equals 1. Probably worth quickly verifying here. N to the 4 plus 4. That's going to give us 1 plus 4, which is 5, which is indeed prime. Maybe we could plug in 2. Well, we already know that's going to give us an even number if we try to plug that in here. So, seems to be working okay. We can choose answer B. Now, this method of approach will give you the solution in a reasonable time frame. I think it's very possible with MAT questions, especially towards the second half of the test, which this one is in, to have a question and not know how to proceed and sit there for a long time wondering how to proceed. My advice, therefore, for the MAT would be when you do your first sweep of the paper, if you sit at a question for a couple minutes and you're like, I don't really know how to do this one, it's probably okay to just move on. It's probably okay to move on. Again, we're not aiming for 100% in these tests. If you reach a roadblock and it's going to turn into a massive time sink, perhaps leave it on the back burner, keep moving, do some other questions, and come back to it once you've finished the rest of the paper. This is also true of the long questions. If you get to part 2 of one of the long questions at the end, you don't know how to do it, check part 3, 4, and 5, not because they might give you hints on part 2, but because it's very possible that you can do them without part 2. So just because you can't do part 2 doesn't mean 3, 4, and 5 will necessarily be inaccessible. Right? So there might be marks there that we can access. So don't abandon them without at least giving them a cursory glance.